Hey guys, welcome back to the Outdoor Channel. Today we're back in the camper and we're going to do some improvements to the old camp kitchen, so stay tuned. This is our 1990 Jayco pop-up, and if you're following along, you know we've been doing some updates and some upgrades and a couple of hacks. I'll put the link to my channel below so you guys can look at those videos when you have a chance. And one of the last videos we did, we took out the camp kitchen that was here. It was really a matter of just taking out the hinge and disconnecting some of the plumbing that was there. And now we've got a pretty large countertop to put stuff, because even though we're just kind of getting set up here, we usually have 3 to 5 people here with us. So the counter space is good, and honestly, we're cooking outside anyway. Next thing that we're doing, if you saw the beginning clip here, is we're taking this cooler out. It's not a fridge, it's a cooler in this model. It's just some plastic and styrofoam and a couple of shelves, and it's really nothing special. To take this out, it's really just 4 of these, top and bottom. And let's see if I can get the camera to the other side here. And a few more there. So 4 of those out with a drill, and this whole thing really just comes out. And just like that, and really it's quite light. Again, it's just some plastic and some styrofoam. And so what we're gonna do is clean this up a little bit and repurpose some of that space. Once you get the cooler out of the way, next step's probably to go through and clean this up a little bit. So a little vacuum or something in there to get rid of that. There's the old LP line for when I had the stove up top there before. And I think there's a drain I got tucked away over there too that's plastic. I'll probably coil those up with a zip tie and just keep those out of the way. There's also a little hole in the floor for, I think, where the drain was for that cooler. So we'll have to find a way to cover that up. Maybe a rubber stopper if I can find one that size, or at the very least some Gorilla Tape or something in the meantime until I find something a little more suitable. Now if I want to run, let's say, a mini fridge in here, we're going to need to run a little bit of power for that. No need to, snake extension cords back there. In my case, I'm fortunate enough to have a piece of Romex there. And it's even got a little whip there that I can probably cut in there pretty easily and mount a little electrical box in there. I'm pretty sure that Romex goes to that guy there. I've got this 1x brace in here holding something up, and that's going to make a great mounting surface for putting a box. I'm going to use a guy like this that's got this bracket on the side, so I can hang that up here somewhere like this versus just having it stick out like that, because although it will fit, whatever plug comes out of this will probably interfere with having a fridge here. And there's some little tabs and stuff on here I can temporarily nail in and keep this in place until I sink a screw or 2 into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this line probably right about here somewhere. The power to the trailer is off. I've got nothing plugged into the house, and there's no batteries on this one, so it's nice and easy. And we'll go ahead and get started. To get things ready, you're going to have to cut your cord. This is just some Romex here. You'll have to peel back some of your shielding to expose your wires. And if your camper was wired correctly, you should have a black, a white, and either a green or a solid copper wire like this. It may have some shielding on it, it may not, but it should look something just like this. And the same on both sides. To get your box ready, you'll need to knock out a couple of these holes here, and you can knock out whatever ones work best for you. I decided to do a couple here on the bottom. And you'll need a couple of these universal clamps or combination clamps to put in those so you can secure your wires once you put them in your box. I've got a separate one here. You guys can see what that looks like. And it's just a screw on, so you can put it on and tighten it to your box there. And then lastly, you have to decide what kind of outlet you want to use. This is your common $2 or $3 household outlet. They make them more expensive, they make them less expensive, so you can decide what you want to get. You can use a GFI if you really wanted to, although this location up in here might be a little bit hard to get at and reset. I would say if you want to go GFI, maybe pick a different spot somewhere in the circuit to mount that and make it a little bit easier for yourself. But for today, this common household outlet is what we're going to use. There are lots and lots and lots of opinions on how to wire this. Some by professionals that know what they're talking about, and some by people with maybe not so qualified to just have opinions. So I'll let you watch who you want to watch and how to wire things in. The basics of this is you've got some copper looking screws there. That's for your black wire or wires. This side is white or much lighter in color. That's going to be for your white wire. And this, this green one down here is going to be for your green or that solid copper wire that we saw a moment ago. Here's the semi-finished work. Get everything tidied up back here. This that I have plugged in here is a circuit tester. And it's just that. We've got power turned on to the trailer here. In my case, this is plugging into the house. For you, it might be batteries, might be whatever. And I have two amber or yellow lights on. And in my case, if you guys can see the guide there, that tells me that the circuit is correct. And we're good to go. We can finish mounting this. If I have something other than two lights there, then, you know, something's not right. You got to go back and do it again. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to check the other circuits throughout the camper, make sure I didn't mess anything up. And again, everything there looks okay. Here's what the finished product looks like. A couple of shallow wood screws into that 1x. Here's the top. Let's see if I can get down below to the bottom there. All tidied up, secure and safe. Even have a little power strip hooked into the top here. Give me some power to this countertop that I didn't have before. That'll be super awesome. Reusing that hole that was already there. That was for the LP line for the stove that used to be here. So one thing to note, this Romex that was installed here looks like it's just 14.2. So 14 gauge wire, 15 amps. Now, there's a big honking 30 amp plug that goes in the camper, but theoretically 15 amps goes to this side and 15 goes to the other side of the camper. So if you're plugging an appliance here, which we're going to do here in just a moment, you know, keep that in mind. You don't want to overload the circuit. And now to the fun part. This is our refrigerator for the install. I got this one on Amazon for I think $179. It looks like the pricing varies from time to time. You can certainly get refrigerators that are a little bit less, but I wanted to fill that cavity pretty well. You can see on off and temperature adjustment, and these shelves move around and things like that. It has a nice glass door. I think this is actually advertised as a wine fridge, although I'm not going to probably ever put wine in it. So I'm going to finish cleaning out that hole. And again, this is a 1990 Jayco pop-up, so that opening was roughly 20.5 tall by 17.5 wide. And so we ended up with this guy here, so it would fill that void pretty well. And hopefully you measured correctly to whatever your expectation is. This has got a couple of feet down here that I've raised up to get over this lip. Now it's up to you whether this sticks out some or this rests all the way in. Looks like if I've got it all the way in, opening and closing this, although it works, it's a little bit in the way. So I'm gonna have to have this stick out a little bit, which is okay. That's how the original one was. To where these feet are on the outside of the lip in my case. And resting against this back. That pretty much wraps things up. Again, just keep in mind when you're wiring in new lines and circuits and tapping into things, you consider what you're powering here. So again, this is a 15 amp circuit. These newer refrigerators are not pulling 15 amps, so I've got a power strip that's there. You know, I'm going to plug in a couple of phones and maybe an iPad or something, right? No big deal. Should be well under the 15 amp that the circuit could hold. But if you're going to put a refrigerator in and a microwave and a fan, yeah, probably not a good idea because you'll be exceeding, you know, the 15 amps that this is pulling. You know, you may need to consider adding breakers, things like that to keep yourself safe if you're going to plug in, you know, more than one appliance or some real, you know, bigger appliances, we'll say, right? So again, that wraps things up. If you like videos like this, hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the channel out quite a bit, and we'll see you next time.